My beloved child, I need you to completely stop whatever you are doing right now. Silence the chaotic and distracting noise of the physical world around you, and open the absolute deepest, most heavily guarded chambers of your spirit to hear this urgent, life-altering divine decree. Please take a deep, slow, intentional breath and allow the heavy, anxious tension to entirely leave your shoulders. What is actively flowing to you through these very words is not an ordinary message. It is not a random algorithm, and it is absolutely not a coincidence. This is a profound, highly classified spiritual revelation being delivered directly from the highest courts of heaven, spoken through the commanding, unshakable voice of Archangel Michael himself. He is stepping into your physical reality right now, his presence carrying an overwhelming, majestic peace, but also a fierce, terrifying, and uncompromising protection over your life. He brings a message that you were divinely destined to hear at this exact millisecond in time, because the blinding light of heaven is actively exposing a dark, hidden agenda that was meticulously plotted against your destiny behind your back. Archangel Michael says to your spirit today, a specific woman in your life, someone whose heart has been deeply twisted and entirely consumed by a dark, unhealed jealousy, recently stepped into a highly dangerous spiritual intention against you. She did not physically raise a hand against your body, but she maliciously, deliberately targeted something infinitely more precious. She targeted your radiant light, your hard-earned peace, your incoming generational success, and your God-ordained destiny. You must deeply understand the tragic, bitter reality of this woman's heart. She is someone who has silently, obsessively watched your beautiful life rise from the ashes of your past in ways she could never humanly comprehend. She sat in the dark, cold corners of her own unhealed resentment and actively watched breathtaking divine blessings continuously circle your life. And instead of choosing to genuinely celebrate your magnificent growth, instead of allowing your pure light to inspire her to heal her own brokenness, she allowed a venomous, suffocating bitterness to take a deep, permanent root inside her chest. She watched your quiet strength, your unwavering grace, and your beautiful ability to survive massive life storms without ever losing your kindness, and it absolutely infuriated her. She desperately wanted to see your incredibly resilient spirit finally fall. She wanted to see your remarkable physical and emotional strength weaken. She wanted to watch your brilliantly illuminated path violently break apart so she could finally feel superior to you. But what she maliciously planned in the absolute darkest, most secretive corners of the unseen realm has already been entirely, spectacularly revealed to the blazing eyes of the heavens. And Archangel Michael is standing before you right now, his flaming sword drawn in your defense, to proudly tell you that she has already completely, humiliatingly failed. This woman, entirely driven by her dark obsession and blinding envy, recently took a physical picture of you, an image capturing your face, your innocent energy, and the radiant essence of your destiny, and she carried it directly into the hands of someone who actively claims to see into the unseen spiritual world. She carried your precious image to a seer, a worker of dark energies, someone she deeply believed could manipulate the spiritual atmosphere and permanently curse the beautiful trajectory of your life. She walked into that dark, heavy atmosphere with a smug sense of false victory. She arrogantly thought that by bringing your picture to this dark altar, she would successfully gain supernatural power and ultimate control over the massive blessings you currently carry. She desperately wanted this spiritual worker to look into the unseen realm and find a hidden weakness, a vulnerable crack in your armor, a secret flaw that she could ruthlessly exploit. She wanted to hear exactly why you keep miraculously surviving every single hidden trap, every painful betrayal, and every deep emotional wound she had secretly hoped would permanently destroy you. She wanted to know why you still continue to shine so incredibly bright, why you still always manage to find unshakable hope in the darkness, and why massive, unimaginable blessings still actively call out your name even after absolutely everything she had whispered against your reputation in secret. But God says, the very millisecond your innocent image fell into that heavy, dark atmosphere, absolutely everything in the spiritual realm violently shifted. The shocking, terrifying spiritual truth about your identity was instantly, explosively revealed, and it shook the Seer's dark spirit to its absolute core. What this jealous woman arrogantly expected to hear about your future was absolutely, entirely not what she heard. When the Seer looked down at your picture and attempted to peer into the spiritual realm surrounding your life, the profound shock and sheer terror they physically felt was not small. Instead of seeing the dark, heavy curses landing successfully on your life, she saw those curses violently shatter into a million pieces against an invisible, impenetrable wall before they even had the chance to fully form in the air. Instead of seeing a weak, broken, and vulnerable spirit that could be easily manipulated, she saw a towering, fierce, unyielding display of absolute divine strength. Instead of seeing your beautiful, ordained path collapsing into ruin, she saw your future path suddenly becoming infinitely brighter, wider, and more incredibly prosperous than she had ever dared to imagine. The Seer physically trembled, completely overwhelmed by the blinding, holy fire that suddenly erupted in their spiritual vision. They realized with absolute horror that they were not looking at an ordinary human being. They were looking at a highly anointed, heavily guarded, and deeply treasured child of the Most High God. Archangel Michael says to you today, this jealous, bitter woman absolutely did not understand the sheer, terrifying weight of the divine shield that currently surrounds your life. She did not understand that heaven has been aggressively guarding your fragile heart and your physical steps since long before you even entered this physical world. She completely failed to understand that your beautiful name is permanently written in heavenly places, inscribed in holy books that sit infinitely higher than the pathetic, malicious attempts of people who function entirely from a place of deep-seated insecurity and toxic jealousy. She did not understand that your magnificent, breathtaking purpose on this earth is completely untouchable because the Creator of the universe himself has permanently sealed it with his own hand. She didn't expect the Seer to slowly look up at her, their eyes wide with genuine spiritual terror, and bluntly tell her that absolutely nothing she ever tries to do against you will ever work. She did not expect the spiritual worker to back away from your picture and boldly declare that your spirit is entirely too strong, your divine calling is entirely too protected, your daily path is entirely too anointed, and your ultimate destiny is entirely too fiercely guarded by God's own hand to ever be altered, delayed, or destroyed by the dark intentions of another human being. The Seer saw things in that room that she absolutely never, ever expected to see. Instead of seeing an atmosphere of looming danger and vulnerability around your life, she saw legions of towering, militant angels completely surrounding you from every possible direction. Instead of seeing spiritual weakness, she saw the absolute, undeniable heavy weight of generational favor resting upon your shoulders. Instead of seeing an easy target, she saw divine protection standing incredibly tall and fierce around your existence, blazing like a towering inferno of living light. She saw an ancient, unbreakable blessing that you carry, a massive spiritual inheritance that violently wakes up and aggressively defends you every single time someone even dares to try and bring you harm. This woman foolishly thought she could quietly, secretly dim your radiant light, but instead, The sheer audacity of her dark action actively triggered a massive, overwhelming wave of divine protection around you, so incredibly powerful that even the person attempting to read your picture felt it vibrating deep within their very bones. They explicitly told this jealous woman something she absolutely did not expect and did not want to hear. You are entirely not someone she can ever physically or spiritually touch. You are not someone she can ever successfully interfere with. You are not someone she can bring any form of harm or bad luck to, not even through a passing, negative thought. They firmly warned her that your life is protected in ways that completely defy earthly logic, and that anyone foolish enough to try and violently shake your massive destiny will absolutely only succeed in violently shaking the foundation of their own life in return. And the woman who proudly brought your picture into that dark room felt absolutely everything in her bitter spirit completely collapse in that exact moment. She realized instantly, with a sinking, terrifying dread in her stomach, that she was facing something infinitely greater, infinitely more powerful, and infinitely more ancient than her own petty, jealous intentions. She realized with horror that she was not just facing you, she was actively facing the unbreakable, supreme law of the divine. She was facing the blazing, impenetrable shield of Archangel Michael. She was facing the absolute, unshakable truth that absolutely no human emotion, no dark spell, no hidden jealousy, and no secret manipulation can ever, under any circumstances, overpower God's magnificent, flawlessly written plan for your life. God is saying to your spirit right now, louder than any lingering anxiety in your mind, even when someone desperately tries to manipulate the invisible spiritual atmosphere around your good name, they completely, foolishly forget one massive, undeniable reality. Your name is already securely held in the blinding, purifying light of heaven. Your beautiful name is already intimately known and fiercely celebrated in the high places where warrior angels walk. Your name is already permanently marked with a level of divine, supernatural protection that absolutely no earthly person, no matter how desperately they try, can ever rewrite, erase, or overwrite. And the very exact millisecond this woman placed your picture on that altar in a desperate attempt to gain insight or dark influence over your life, heaven violently and immediately intervened. I need you to understand the absolute speed of God's protection over you. It absolutely does not matter how deeply she hated you. It does not matter what incredibly dark, destructive things she planned for your downfall. It does not matter what heavy, toxic energy she desperately wanted to release into your peaceful life. The only thing that matters in this entire universe is that heaven instantly, aggressively blocked it before it could even take a single breath in the atmosphere. Archangel Michael says he physically stepped out of the heavenly realms and stood directly behind you at that very moment. Even though you were simply going about your day, completely unaware of the dark spiritual warfare being waged against your image, even though you didn't physically feel the massive spiritual shift that was desperately attempted against your peace, heaven reacted with lightning speed on your behalf. Warrior angels instantly moved the atmosphere around you, replacing the heavy, dark intentions with a blinding, impenetrable light. Divine, holy fire completely surrounded your picture the very moment it was placed before that seer, burning away absolutely every single word that was attempted to be spoken against your destiny. Because absolutely nothing can ever be spoken over your life without explicit divine permission, and God says to you today, divine permission is absolutely never, ever granted to the darkness. You must deeply absorb this truth right now. You are safe. God is actively saying that you are absolutely, unequivocally, and permanently safe. Nothing will go wrong with you. Absolutely nothing can break you. Nothing can even slightly shake the massive, rock-solid foundation that heaven has meticulously placed under your feet. You are constantly being carried, fiercely protected, lovingly watched over, and completely surrounded by a light so incredibly powerful and purifying that even the absolute darkest intentions of others instantly dissolve into nothingness the very moment they attempt to face it. Archangel Michael says you absolutely do not ever need to fear anyone's hidden words, anyone's malicious actions, anyone's toxic energy, or anyone's dark spiritual curiosity regarding your life. You do not have to spend a single second of your precious time worrying about who thinks what about you, who speaks your beautiful name with a tongue full of jealousy, who obsessively tries to dissect and understand your rapid growth, or who foolishly goes into the unseen realm with your picture or your name in a desperate attempt to stop you. Your spirit is entirely covered by a divine, supernatural force that simply cannot be manipulated by man, cannot be altered by circumstances, and absolutely cannot be touched by any darkness desperately disguised as power. And because the protective laws of heaven demand absolute justice, the dark energy she so desperately tried to launch at your peaceful life could not simply disappear into the void. It had to obey the divine law of reflection, setting the stage for a massive, unprecedented spiritual ricochet that she was absolutely not prepared to handle. Was absolutely not prepared to handle. Because the fundamental, unbreakable law of the spiritual universe dictates that when a malicious, targeted curse is held against an innocent soul completely shielded by the Most High, it does not just harmlessly evaporate into thin air. It violently, forcefully, and aggressively bounces back. You must deeply understand the profound, terrifying reality of divine justice that is actively playing out right now. When this deeply jealous, bitter woman actively chose to operate in the absolute darkest shadows, desperately attempting to project a heavy, suffocating curse onto a completely innocent, divinely protected child of God, that toxic energy absolutely could not penetrate the holy fire surrounding you. It slammed directly into the impenetrable, blinding shield of Archangel Michael, and it violently ricocheted directly back into the very hands that originally sent it. The woman who desperately, obsessively thought she could secretly interfere with your massive, incoming blessings accidentally and catastrophically triggered a massive spiritual boomerang. She is currently sitting in the devastating, confusing, and agonizing aftermath of her own malicious actions. She is physically, mentally, and emotionally experiencing the exact same heavy, suffocating blockages, the exact same crippling anxiety, and the exact same frustrating lack of progress that she so desperately tried to speak over your beautiful destiny. Heaven took every single ounce of her dark intention, completely reversed its spiritual polarity, and sent it crashing back into her own atmosphere with 10 times the force. And because she does not possess the pure, forgiving, radiant light that you naturally carry within your spirit, she is entirely consumed by the very darkness she foolishly tried to weaponize against you. She is now watching your life with an agonizing, obsessive frustration that is literally eating away at her own peace of mind. Since the exact moment she walked out of that seer's room, completely defeated, terrified, and shaking with dread, she has not been able to logically comprehend why absolutely everything she desperately wanted to influence has instead grown exponentially stronger in your life. She expected to see you weeping in despair. Instead, she is forced to watch you smiling with a profound, unbothered, and untouchable peace. She expected to see your financial, personal, and emotional parts completely dry up and wither away. Instead, she is actively witnessing an unprecedented, overflowing flood of new opportunities, divine favor, and undeniable elevation rushing toward you. Every single pathetic, calculated attempt she made to quietly tear down your good reputation miraculously turned into a golden, illuminated stepping stone for your ultimate public promotion. Every single negative, toxic thought she aggressively pushed your way was instantly transformed by the hands of warrior angels into massive, breathtaking elevation. Every single dark, spiritual curiosity she pursued became a terrifying, blinding mirror that forcefully showed her the ugly, unhealed, and miserable reality of her own deeply flawed intentions, rather than exposing any vulnerability in you. Heaven completely, masterfully turned absolutely everything around in the blink of an eye. She truly thought she was digging a deep, dark pit for you to eventually fall into, but God simply took the dirt from that exact pit to build the massive, unshakable mountain that you are currently standing on. But God wants to speak directly to your physical and emotional experiences over these past few weeks, because you have absolutely not been entirely unaware of this massive spiritual warfare, even if you did not know the specific, hidden details of what she was doing. You have undeniably been feeling an incredibly strange, suffocating heaviness at times. You have experienced sudden, unexplainable waves of deep, bone-crushing fatigue, where your body felt heavy and your mind felt entirely clouded by an invisible fog. You have had moments of sudden, sharp, almost painful intuition, a nagging, persistent whisper deep within your spirit that someone was actively thinking about you, speaking your name behind closed doors, or projecting heavy, negative energy toward your peaceful life. You may have suddenly felt a strange, cold, and entirely unexplainable distance grow between you and certain people you previously used to trust. You may have experienced highly confusing conversations, odd out-of-character behavior from those around you, and the sudden, overwhelming urge to completely isolate yourself in the quiet, undisturbed safety of your own space. God is saying to you right now, with absolute, comforting, and undeniable clarity, that heavy, exhausting feeling was absolutely not the dark curse actually working. It was not a sign of your impending destruction. It was absolutely not a sign that the darkness was somehow winning the battle over your life. That temporary, incredibly uncomfortable heaviness was simply the physical and emotional residue of someone else's highly toxic energy violently bouncing off your massive, impenetrable spiritual shield. When Archangel Michael and his powerful legions of warrior angels actively engage in a fierce, fiery spiritual battle on your behalf in the unseen realm, your human body and your highly sensitive, empathetic spirit can undeniably feel the shifting, vibrating, and chaotic energy of that unseen war. The sudden, unexplainable exhaustion you felt was simply your own spirit naturally adjusting to the massive, blinding influx of protective divine light that was required to completely obliterate her dark intentions. The highly confusing separation from certain people, the sudden, strange reactions from old acquaintances, and the rapid, shifting dynamics in your social circle were entirely, flawlessly orchestrated by the protective hand of God Himself. It was a massive, divine, and absolutely necessary separation happening in real time. God was deliberately, forcefully removing absolutely anyone who secretly harbored the exact same jealous, envious, and toxic frequency as the woman who desperately tried to curse you. God was meticulously, aggressively clearing the physical and emotional path ahead of you, ruthlessly cutting away every single dead branch, fake smile, and toxic attachment so that your massive incoming blessings would absolutely not be contaminated by fake friends or hidden enemies masquerading as supporters. You were absolutely never meant to share the sacred, beautiful, and highly anointed dreams of your future with individuals who secretly, silently wished for them to completely fail. You were never meant to trust someone who did not genuinely, wholeheartedly, and loudly celebrate your victories from a place of pure, unconditional love. This deeply jealous, miserable woman entirely, catastrophically underestimated exactly who you are. She looked at your quiet, peaceful, and forgiving demeanor and foolishly mistook it for utter weakness. She thought you were walking through this harsh world completely alone, vulnerable, and entirely unprotected by the heavens. She arrogantly thought that because she so expertly hides her dark, venomous intentions behind a perfectly crafted fake smile and polite, empty words, absolutely no one would ever know what was truly festering inside her bitter, rotting heart. But she completely forgot that the Creator of the universe sees perfectly, with absolute, blinding clarity, in the pitch black of the night. She forgot that God intimately, flawlessly knows the absolute deepest, darkest, and most fiercely guarded secrets of the human soul. The angels clearly saw her ultimate betrayal long before it ever even formed into a physical action. The spiritual realm flawlessly recorded every single jealous, malicious thought she ever entertained about your beautiful life. And because God saw absolutely all of it before you ever could, He completely, effortlessly disarmed her weapons before they were even fully forged in the fires of her envy. You absolutely do not need to seek any form of revenge against her. You do not need to harbor a single ounce of dark anger in your pristine, beautiful heart. You do not need to confront her, argue with her, or waste a single breath of your precious, divine energy trying to prove her wrong or expose her lies. The absolute, terrifying reality of ultimate divine justice has already been flawlessly, completely executed the very moment she walked toward that seer with your physical picture clutched tightly in her trembling, guilty hands. You must completely, unconditionally understand today that your miraculous survival through all the hidden traps, the silent, agonizing betrayals, and the entirely unspoken spiritual attacks is absolutely not the matter of mere earthly luck or random coincidence. The profound, undeniable, and glorious reason you continually survive, the magnificent reason you keep rising higher and higher every single time they try to permanently bury you in the dirt, is because your soul is permanently, flawlessly aligned with a massive, undeniable divine destiny that simply cannot be interfered with by petty human jealousy. You were specifically, intentionally, and beautifully chosen by heaven for unprecedented, generational breakthroughs that the miserable people who envy you will absolutely never have the spiritual capacity to receive. You were handpicked by the Almighty to completely shatter toxic, generational barriers that others weakly, cowardly surrendered to. You were highly ordained to confidently kick open massive, heavy, golden doors that others desperately tried, but completely failed, to unlock. You were chosen by the Creator of the stars to rise, to shine, and to prosper abundantly, even when you were given absolutely every logical, earthly reason to completely fall apart and surrender to the pain. This is exactly why she is so incredibly threatened by your mere existence. This is exactly why she obsessively watches your life more closely than she watches her own. She studies you, she pathetically attempts to imitate you, she loudly criticizes you to others, and she secretly competes with you in a race you didn't even know you were running, completely failing to understand that your magnificent blessings do not come from the approval of people, they come directly from the hand of God. And exactly because you are carrying this massive, undeniable, and heavy anointing, the entire spiritual atmosphere around your life is now officially, permanently cleared of all remaining toxic debris. The dark, heavy, suffocating clouds of her entirely failed intentions are rapidly, miraculously dissipating into absolute nothingness right before your eyes. The frustrating, confusing, and exhausting season of unseen spiritual warfare is permanently closing its heavy doors, and the magnificent, breathtaking season of your absolute, unstoppable, and undeniable elevation is rapidly preparing to burst forth into your physical reality. Burst forth into your physical reality right now, at this exact, divinely orchestrated moment. I need you to actively, physically feel the profound, magnificent shift that is happening within your spirit today. That lingering, suffocating heaviness that has been sitting squarely on your chest for the past several weeks, that unexplainable, bone-deep exhaustion that made it difficult to even get out of bed some mornings. God says it is officially, permanently lifting right now. You are actively stepping out of the dark, cold shadows that this jealous woman so desperately, maliciously tried to cast over your beautiful life. You are stepping fully and confidently into a breathtaking season of extreme, pristine clarity, unshakable emotional strength, absolute spiritual freedom, and overwhelming, undeniable confidence. Absolutely nothing she did, or ever will do, can attach its dark frequency to your radiant spirit. Nothing she bitterly wished upon your life can ever harm a single hair on your head. Nothing she attempted in that dark room with that seer can ever succeed, because God's sovereign, mighty hand actively cancels, destroys, and entirely obliterates every single dark intention before it can even fully form in the physical world. Archangel Michael speaks to your spirit right now with a massive, booming urgency, but also with an incredibly profound, overflowing divine love. He says you must absolutely not fear your future for even one more second. Your beautiful, magnificent future is absolutely not based on what toxic, jealous people think of you, what they secretly plot against you, or what they miserably hope for your downfall. Your spectacular future is flawlessly, entirely shaped by perfect divine timing, absolute divine protection, and unmatched divine purpose. The profound, undeniable reason you keep getting these incredibly powerful spiritual warnings, the reason your intuition has been on such high alert lately, is absolutely not because any real danger can actually reach you. It is entirely because God desperately wants you to finally understand the staggering, immeasurable value of your own spirit. He wants you to fully, completely understand exactly how incredibly powerful, resilient, and divinely chosen you truly are. He desperately wants you to finally open your eyes and see your own breathtaking worth, your massive, untouchable calling, and your absolute, unyielding strength. You must understand that sometimes, when you are heavily anointed and specifically chosen by the Most High for generational greatness, massive spiritual battles violently rise around you, not because you are weak, vulnerable, or doing something wrong, but precisely because what you currently carry inside your spirit is entirely too powerful, too blinding, and too pure for some dark, broken hearts to handle. Your mere presence, without you even saying a single word, loudly exposes their deep-seated, painful insecurities. Your radiant, natural light violently exposes their chosen darkness. Your massive, undeniable blessings loudly expose their absolute lack of faith. Archangel Michael says to your spirit today, stop endlessly questioning why certain people in your life suddenly changed their colors. Stop agonizing over why their previously warm behavior drastically shifted into cold distance. Stop carrying the heavy, entirely false burden of blaming yourself for their hidden envy and toxic reactions. Their bitter, jealous heart spoke volumes in the spiritual realm long before their lying mouth ever did in the physical world, and heaven heard absolutely every single syllable of it. You must deeply understand that you were absolutely never, ever meant to stay permanently connected to someone who secretly, silently hoped to see you violently struggle. You were entirely never meant to share the sacred, beautiful, and highly anointed dreams of your future with someone who silently wished for them to completely, humiliatingly fail. You were absolutely never meant to trust, love, or pour your precious energy into someone who did not genuinely, wholeheartedly celebrate your magnificent victories from a place of pure, unconditional love. God clearly saw what your trusting, innocent human eyes could not possibly see, and He violently stepped into your physical reality to sever those toxic ties because your magnificent destiny is entirely too important, too valuable, and too heavily guarded to ever risk being contaminated by their hidden poison. You absolutely must keep praying. You must keep completely, unconditionally trusting the divine process. You must keep walking boldly forward with absolute, unshakable faith. You are fiercely, heavily protected, not because your earthly life is supposed to be perfectly easy, but precisely because your divine purpose on this earth is incredibly, breathtakingly great. Archangel Michael says that your illuminated path ahead currently contains massive, unprecedented surprises that will physically and spiritually lift you infinitely higher than anything you have ever dared to imagine in your wildest dreams. Listen to the absolute truth of heaven right now. Massive, undeniable financial breakthroughs that completely defy earthly logic are actively rushing towards your bank accounts. Profound, soothing emotional healing that permanently closes the deepest, most agonizing wounds of your past is actively washing over your entire nervous system. A restored, unshakable, and entirely untouchable peace is actively setting up a permanent residence inside your mind. Incredibly powerful, divinely orchestrated connections with genuine, pure-hearted people who will loudly celebrate your light are actively being positioned directly on your path. Massive, unexpected, generational blessings are already flawlessly forming entirely around you. The pathetic, dark attempts made against your life have absolutely only accelerated your massive elevation. The heavy, toxic negativity that she so desperately sent toward you acted as a massive divine broom, completely clearing the necessary space for these unprecedented blessings to finally enter your reality. The agonizing, confusing betrayal you recently experienced has absolutely only pushed you infinitely closer toward the direct center of your divine purpose. Archangel Michael gently but firmly reminds you today that when the Creator of the universe specifically chooses a soul for greatness, the enemy will always desperately try to distract it, physically weaken it, mentally confuse it, or emotionally isolate it. But absolutely none of those dark, pathetic strategies can ever work on a beautiful heart that stubbornly, relentlessly keeps praying. Your quiet, tear-soaked prayers in the middle of the night have always been your absolute greatest, most devastating weapon against the darkness. Your consistent, faithful prayers have been your impenetrable, blazing shield. Your desperate, honest prayers have been your ultimate, foolproof rescue. Even on the dark, heavy days when you felt entirely bone-tired, deeply discouraged, entirely misunderstood, or completely hopeless, your pure prayers were actively building a massive, towering wall of protective divine fire entirely around your life. A wall so incredibly strong, so blindingly bright, that even the dark seer immediately felt its terrifying, consuming heat the very second they looked at your picture. This jealous, miserable woman fully expected to hear that you were weak, vulnerable, and entirely unprotected from her dark intentions. Instead, she heard the terrifying, absolute truth that attempting to touch your highly anointed destiny brings massive, devastating spiritual consequences that she is absolutely not ready or equipped to handle. She walked away from that dark altar entirely frustrated, completely confused, and profoundly, terribly afraid, because she finally realized with absolute horror that she had foolishly, arrogantly targeted someone who entirely, permanently belongs to the Most High God. You absolutely do not need to confront her. You do not need to send her a message. You do not need to seek earthly closure. God has already completely, flawlessly handled it on your behalf. Archangel Michael says that ultimate, divine justice is already magnificently unfolding right before your eyes. Absolutely everything she desperately tried to block, delay, or destroy in your life will now spectacularly backfire and transform into a massive, overflowing, and entirely unstoppable blessing for you. Absolutely everything she maliciously wished against your peace will miraculously turn into concrete, undeniable physical evidence of your absolute divine protection. Everything she intended for your absolute harm, God has already completely transformed into your ultimate, breathtaking elevation. The more she desperately pushes with her toxic negativity and hidden jealousy, the more God violently, unapologetically pulls you upward into the highest echelons of success and spiritual power. You may physically feel incredibly emotional after hearing this profound message today, and that is entirely okay, because your beautiful soul instantly recognizes the absolute, unvarnished truth vibrating within these very words. You are absolutely not imagining the intense spiritual tension that has been swirling around you. Your highly sensitive spirit has been accurately sensing the hidden intentions, the silent, toxic resentment, and the unseen, cowardly attacks. But right now, at this exact moment, you also physically, undeniably feel the massive, overwhelming, and comforting presence of absolute divine protection completely surrounding you from every possible angle. Archangel Michael is literally standing directly beside you right now. He is fiercely guarding your every step. He is aggressively clearing your path of all remaining obstacles. He is deeply, miraculously strengthening your tired spirit. He explicitly asks you right now to completely, unconditionally release all of your remaining fear. Release your crippling doubt. Release the exhausting, desperate need to logically understand exactly why broken people betray, why miserable people blindly envy, and why toxic people expertly pretend. None of that dark, earthly noise matters anymore. The only thing that truly matters in this entire universe is that God completely, perfectly exposed the trap before it could ever even attempt to touch you. Your only responsibility moving forward is incredibly simple, yet profoundly powerful. Trust God with every fiber of your being. Keep praying with absolute, unshakable faith. Keep moving boldly, unapologetically forward into your glorious destiny. Do not ever look back at the miserable, broken ones who silently, cowardly wished for your ultimate fall. The dark, toxic chapter in the beautiful book of your life is officially, permanently closed, locked, and entirely thrown away. What lies brilliantly ahead of you is infinitely, breathtakingly far greater than absolutely anything you are leaving behind in the ashes. Archangel Michael says that the Almighty God is currently preparing something so incredibly massive, so beautifully unprecedented for your life, that it will instantly, completely replace absolutely every single loss you have ever endured. It will miraculously heal every single agonizing heartbreak. It will entirely erase every crushing disappointment. It will beautifully rectify every incredibly unfair situation you have ever been forced to walk through. It will permanently vindicate you from every single cowardly betrayal. You are actively, right now, physically stepping into a golden, overflowing season of ultimate divine compensation, miraculous restoration, and unprecedented, undeniable favor. You are fiercely, heavily protected by the armies of heaven. You are deeply, unconditionally loved and permanently chosen by the Creator. You are watched over with an intense, jealous, divine love that simply cannot be measured by human comprehension. Absolutely nothing will go wrong with you, because God's sovereign, mighty, and unshakable hand is resting heavily and permanently upon your entire life. You are absolutely not walking through this world alone. You are walking with the entire, massive weight of heaven standing directly behind you. You are walking with legions of warrior angels actively, aggressively clearing your path of all danger. You are walking with Archangel Michael himself, his flaming sword drawn, fiercely guarding your fragile heart, your physical health, your mental peace, your incoming finances, and your massive, untouchable destiny. The jealous, bitter woman who desperately wanted to see you fall and break will now be absolutely, agonizingly forced to sit back and witness your magnificent, unstoppable rise. The dark seer who peered into the spiritual realm and saw your blinding, absolute truth has permanently confirmed the undeniable reality of your massive divine calling. And you, the beautiful, resilient, faithful child of God reading these very words today, are actively stepping into a glorious, brilliantly illuminated future where absolutely nothing and absolutely no one in the physical or spiritual realm can ever stop exactly what God is about to miraculously do for you. You are completely safe. You are abundantly, overwhelmingly blessed. You are fiercely, permanently protected from every single seen and unseen attack. Trust the Creator completely, release the heavy burdens of your past, and keep your beautiful heart continuously open to the heavens. Your massive, life-altering, and breathtaking breakthrough is infinitely closer to you than you could ever possibly think or imagine. God says to your spirit one final time today, Archangel Michael is standing directly beside you right now, and he is speaking with a magnificent, booming firmness that violently shakes the unseen realms. He says, listen carefully to the absolute truth of heaven. This bitter woman desperately wanted to see you fall, to see you violently break, to see you die inside before your divinely appointed time. She took your innocent picture into the darkness. But when the seer looked into the spiritual world, the blinding, terrifying truth that erupted shocked her so deeply that her hands violently trembled. She completely failed to understand the absolute majesty of your destiny, the sheer magnitude of your divine calling, and the impenetrable, blazing divine protection that permanently surrounds your life. She expected to see you swallowed by darkness, but instead, heaven's consuming, holy fire flashed brilliantly around your name. God says you are perfectly, entirely safe. You are heavily, fiercely protected. You are completely covered under an impenetrable shield of divine, purifying light. And absolutely no matter what dark, malicious trap has been secretly planned against you in the shadows, absolutely nothing will go wrong with you. Every single curse has already violently bounced back. Every single dark intention has already been permanently shattered. You just have to completely trust the Almighty God and continuously pray to Him with a pure, unshakable heart. God says the highest courts of heaven have already completely, permanently overturned every single dark plot ever formed against you in silence. You have won the spiritual war without even lifting a single finger. If you completely believe this divine prophecy, if you are entirely ready to accept this massive, breathtaking spiritual victory and step fully into your season of unstoppable elevation, open your heart right now and type Amen to instantly claim this as your permanent, magnificent reality.